Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for February 2018. Normally February is kind of a slow month. Everybody's gearing up for their big summer events and stuff. But this year, February, I was going through the previews again, and I didn't realize how much awesome stuff is coming out. So I have a lot of stuff I'm really excited to talk to you about.
From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old Maynard comic shop owner Colin McMahon transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us true believers for Comics Now!
February is always fun for me because it's a slow month, at least in the convention kind of business. That's when we have our Comics Pro annual meeting. Comics Pro is an organization of comic retailers. And we get together once a year to talk about what's going on and meet up with all the publishers so they can tell us what's going on with their stuff. 2017 was a real kind of transitionary year where things kind of changed. So it's going to be an interesting meeting this year where stores can get together and talk about the different problems and different challenges we're facing and hopefully try to do it along with the publishers. So I'm really excited about that. That's at the end of the month. I'll be gone for a week, which is like a little vacation for me. Don't have to worry about the store so much because there's not a whole lot I can do. So I just kind of enjoy myself and with my friends who are my other retailers and the publisher people who I've gotten to know. So I always love February because of that, because it is a little bit slower. But this year looks fantastic as far as what's coming out. Valiant Comics. I'm doing Valiant Comics this month. Double points on all Valiants because I think they did a really neat promotion, and I have to give them credit for it, so I'm helping to promote it. But they're doing a Valentine's Day promotion, where if we ordered some extra sale stuff, they're going to send us Valentines and posters and things like that. And I'm like, that's a good use of your promotional effort, so I was going to support them. So double points on all Valiant stuff in February. And because of that, I decided I'm going to start with Valiant, telling you about all the things that are coming out with them. Now, they only have one new number one. It's a one-shot. It's a fun one because it's Armstrong, who is an immortal. He's one of three brothers. The other two are Eternal Warrior and Ivar the Time Walker. But he's just a big, lovable, drunk guy. And so they're having a special one-shot. It's Armstrong in the Vault of Spirits, and it's being held in New York's seediest dive bar. And he has all his friends come out and regale everybody with stories of their past adventures with Armstrong. So that should be a lot of fun. They also have, right now, Bloodshot Salvation is one of their big books. Jeff Lemire's writing it. And issue 6 is coming in. It's a new jumping on point. And what has happened is his infant daughter is sick, and he has to go to the dead side to confront death to be able to save her. And he goes down there with Shadow Man and also Dr. Mirage to try to save her life by defeating death. And I believe there's also a Shadow Man story, new book coming out in March, so I'm sure this is going to lead into what's going on there. And then also Ninjak, or Ninja K as the new series is being called, is having an origin issue for Ninja G, who was a 70s, the first female ninja character, and set in the 70s. So this is a nice little jumping on point to get a story of another ninja, this one being Ninja G, not Ninja K. So that's what's going on with Valiant. They only put out a few books a year, or a few books a month, so they don't try to overwhelm us with too much, and those are three big ones that they have coming. And now on to the big two. Both DC and Marvel are really, I think, going to hit it out of the park this month. January was a little weird, too, because it was a 5-Wednesday month, so every Wednesday seemed a little subdued because things got spread out a little bit more. So we're back to another 4-week month, and we got a ton of stuff coming every week this month. Starting with DC, they're continuing on their Age of Heroes. So far, we've had Silencer and Damage, and now we're getting 2 more of their new number ones with these whole new idea books. First one is The Terrifics. This is Jeff Lemire and Ivan Rice. Basically doing a Fantastic Four book that Marvel's not doing. So Jeff Lemire came to the higher-ups at DC and said he basically wanted to do a book. And they said, sure. So you have Mr. Terrific, you have Phantom Girl, you have Metamorpho, and Plastic Man, and just basically doing adventures. And they said that they want to kind of incorporate the old Lee and Kirby feel of this book. So that should be a lot of fun. Everybody's really excited about this one. We also have Sideways. This is a new one from Justin Jordan, who's local to Mechanicsburg here, and Kenneth Rocafort. And this is basically almost like a Spider-Man type book. During the events of Dark Knight Metal, high school junior Derek James falls through a rift into the dark multiverse. And now that he's back, he has the power to teleport, basically going through rifts in the dimensions. But as always, with great power comes great responsibility, and cracks are starting to form in the space-time continuum from him doing all this. So we'll see where that goes. Young Animal, who does Doom Patrol and Cave Carson and Shade the Changing Girl, is doing Milk Wars, where the Justice League is confronting all these characters who are kind of whacked out. The first one came out the end of January, which was the Justice League Doom Patrol, which was bizarre, which it's supposed to be because Doom Patrol. And that's continuing on. The first week we have Batman, Mother Panic, and then every week in February we're going to get another book in this adventure. Dark Knights Metal continues with Dark Knights Rising Wild Hunt, which is basically issue 5.5, as it's been explained. Fun part with this is Grant Morrison, and Scott Snyder, who's known Grant Morrison a little while he's been writing Batman, says it's the craziest thing he's ever read. So this should be fun. Batman Sins of the Father #1 is a new book by Christos Gage, and this is based on a video game. So I'm not a video game guy, but if you're a Batman fan and a video game guy, this will probably be a good book for you. Brave and the Bold. This is by Liam Sharp. He's writing and drawing this. It's a 6-issue miniseries, and it's an adventure with Batman and Wonder Woman. He started off the Wonder Woman run of Rebirth, and now he was off that book, but now he's back drawing Wonder Woman. Green Lantern is doing an Earth 1 hardcover. There have been a bunch of the Earth 1 hardcovers. We've had a couple Batmans, I think 3 Supermans, 2 Teen Titans, and 1 Wonder Woman, and now we're getting Green Lantern into this. And it's basically just kind of a reimagining of their origin, set away from all the continuity of everything. It's just kind of a standalone book. So these have done really well. So this one I'm very excited about. I'm happy this one got pushed back from January. This is the Swamp Thing Winter Special. It's Tom King and Jason Fabok doing a Swamp Thing story, and it's fantastic. I got to read the PDF of it, and it's just a really neat old school Swamp Thing story. The neat thing with this is the backup feature is Len Wein and Kelly Jones, an issue that they had done. They were going to do a new series, but sadly Len Wein passed away, and he created Swamp Thing, so they decided to include that issue in this special. So we didn't get to read that yet, so I'm very excited to read that as well. Also, we have, in support of Valentine's Day, we have Young Monsters in Love, which is going to be just a little one-shot full of young monsters in love. There's Deadman, there's Swamp Thing, there's Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. So this should be just fun, just a fun holiday special. Mira, Queen of Atlantis, is giving Aquaman's wife Mira her first ever series. It's a 6-issue miniseries, just giving her story. Mr. Miracle #1 is getting a director's cut. Normally, I don't get all excited about this. It's mostly they have like the pencils and the script. This one's also going to include an 8-page story that's never been published before that gives Mr. Miracle's origin. So if you've been enjoying Mr. Miracle, you might want to pick this one up too, because I think it could be kind of neat and special. New Superman has been an interesting book where it's a Chinese character got powers and he's trying to be Superman of China. Well, they're kind of changing the book now, and throughout his adventures, China has also had their own Justice League, their own versions of Superman and Wonder Woman and things. So the book is now changing. It's becoming New Superman and the Justice League of China. So it's going to be a little more to that book. This might be a good place to at least try the first issue to see if you like it. It's just a little different spin on the whole Justice League story and just a whole different Justice League. Vertigo is coming out with a new #1. This is by Josh Williamson, who's done a ton of stuff at Image, and right now he's been writing Flash since Rebirth. And he loves his horror stuff. He's done a bunch of stuff with them. And this is an interesting one, Deathbed. It's about this character. He's now 90 years old, but he used to be, the most fascinating man in the world. He was this adventurer, and all of a sudden he disappeared 20 years ago. So they've sent this reporter off to investigate. Where has he been? What's going on? And as he starts regaling regaling her with his stories of his past and everything, she falls into an insane world of psychedelic violence and explosive supernatural adventure. So just something different. It's just always nice to see the superhero guys kind of have these other bizarre ideas that probably wouldn't work in Flash, but he can certainly do his own thing. So this should be fun. Yeah, Josh Williamson and Riley Rossmo, who I really, really enjoy. He's done a lot of Batman stuff lately, but he did Cowboy Ninja Viking. Okay, over at Marvel now. Marvel is gearing up for their summer stuff, which means we're starting to get the beginnings of it. So now we have Infinity Countdown Warlock, where it's the return of Adam Warlock, and he's searching out the Soul Gem, or the Soul Stone. They're changing it from gems to stones. But he's searching this out, and he's investigating what happened to him and what the history of that stone is. We also have Infinity Countdown Prime, where all of the stones have now been discovered. People have figured out where they are, and the big hunt for them is starting. And that issue is also going to give you the history of all the Infinity Stones. Big one that we just finished up, Phoenix Resurrection. So Jean Grey, the original Jean Grey, is back, and she's getting her own team. And this is going to be X-Men Red, which is starting in February. And with her new team with Nightcrawler, Namor, X-23, and then some new characters are going to be sprinkled in there too. Doctor Strange is starting off a big event of his called Damnation. And what has happened during Secret Empire, Las Vegas was destroyed. And even though the Cosmic Cube kind of undid things, Las Vegas was left alone in its destroyed state. Doctor Strange goes out and decides to rebuild it and bring it back. Unfortunately, when he does so, and probably because it's Las Vegas, he opens up a portal to allow Mephisto to come to the Earth. So now he's going to have to battle him, and this is going to be going through a bunch of different books throughout February and probably March and April. Avengers No Surrender continues. This is their big Avengers Big Battle book that's been weekly so far. Invincible Iron Man 597. We finally get the return of Tony Stark, who's been missing since the beginning of this run. Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. We're getting issue 300 is going to be a big oversized anniversary issue. Black Panther with the movie coming out. They're doing a little one-shot called The Sound and the Fury, which is going to be him versus Claw, and it's also going to reprint in the back of it his first appearance in Fantastic Four number 53. Lockjaw from the Inhumans is getting his own little miniseries. And then Star Wars is getting a new Star Wars book, Thrawn. In the novels, he was the fiercest and most cunning and ruthless warrior in the Star Wars universe, and now we're finding out his story. So that's what Marvel has coming. Now for some of the other big guys, we have Dark Horse. Burger Books is really starting to roll out now. We had the first one in January, Hunger Ghost, which was like a chef-based book by Anthony Bourdain. Now we have a couple others coming. We have Incanegro Renaissance. There was an original Incanegro book, and this is this follow-up to it. And it's basically just a story set in 20s New York about segregation and self-worth and secrets. We also have Matahari, #1, which is going to go into her story about being, the mysterious character that she was and tell a little bit more about her. So those are both from Karen Berger, former editor of Vertigo. And then Buffy is back. We're getting a Giles miniseries. So if you're a big Buffy fan, he's going to be a little 4-part story coming just about Giles. IDW is kind of doing the other part of the Vertigo, which is Black Crown. This is by Shelley Bond. And they have a new one coming out called Punk's Not Dead. And this 15-year-old kid all of a sudden can see ghosts. Well, not lots of ghosts, just one ghost who happens to be an old punk rocker named Sid. And now Sid is kind of along with him all the time, and also he's almost become his father figure. So it's going to be a little weird, Vertigo-esque kind of story. G.I. Joe Real American Hero versus the $6 Million Man. How could that go wrong? Highest House, which is interesting. This is by Mike Carey and Peter Gross. This is the creators who did Unwritten, which was a neat kind of almost Harry Potter-ish story. They're doing a new one, a story about a slave boy named Moth who befriends an ancient, powerful entity named Obsidian. And it's clear Obsidian is just using the boy, but there's also the boy is using him. So it'll be interesting to see where the story goes with two people using each other to get their own way. The Spider King #1, basically the only description I found was Aliens versus Vikings. So that sounds like fun. And then Rich Veitch's The One is being redone. It's been remastered, and this is it's a story that deconstructed superheroes that was done before Watchmen and before Dark Knight Returns. So it's going to be interesting to put some fresh eyes on this book. Just kind of almost not historical, it's just from the 80s, but something that took a step before those other classics came out. Image has a bunch of neat ones. Mark Miller is back with Kick-Ass, but it's a new person under the mask. It's not the same kid, so it's taking it in a new direction. Also bringing back Hit Girl, same Hit Girl, just new stories with her. Versus #1 is a situation where war has become a spectator sport, and these great warriors are now going to find that the limelight, even though they're big famous and everybody loves them, the limelight is very short-lived. The Beef #1, this is Shaky Kane, who's just kind of a very unique creator. He's doing one about the people living or working in this meat plant, and the story of one guy and his love falls in with the wrong crowd and how he deals with her. Death of Love, this is another one from Justin Jordan. Basically, there's this guy, he can see cupids, and after a particularly bad drunken decision, he decides to go off and try to kill all the cupids, to kill off love. Twisted Romance is one from Alex DeCampi, and this is going to be a weekly one in February, and just each one is different stories of love, love gone right, love gone wrong, and everything in between. So just a little anthology book shipping weekly. Multiple Warheads is getting a one-shot, because that's been a popular one, and then Wicked and Divine is also getting a 1923 one-shot, and if you read the series from the beginning, it started in 1923 with the death of the gods then, so this is going to give you a little more story about those characters that we saw at the very, very beginning. New story arcs in a bunch of the Image books. Also, Descenders getting a new story arc, I Hate Fairyland, Moonshine returns, this was a really interesting one, this is Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso, a story about moonshiners in West Virginia and werewolves and all sorts of fun stuff, and this is back with a new arc. And then Saga is also coming back after their little break, so excited to see that. Then there's an original graphic novel that's getting a lot of buzz. It's called Bingo Love, and it's about two women who met in the 60s at a bingo parlor and fell in love, but because of society and their families, they were separated and grew up, had families, and now in their 60s, they're meeting again at another bingo parlor, and it's going to be a story of the decisions that they make now with the world kind of a different place than it was since the 60s. Aftershock Comics, who's been doing real good, has a couple neat ones. Cold War is a new one from Christopher Sabela, where basically if you were people who were cryogenically frozen, waiting until the world changed and they could cure whatever disease they had, are being unfrozen, but basically being put in armor and given weapons, and they have to go off and fight this war that they have no idea why. So that's an interesting way to go about it. And Rough Riders, that we did a book club and have a lot of real good support here, is getting a new series called Ride or Die. It's their third little mini-series, and that's how they've been doing that book. Alterna is a neat company who does these little $1.50 books on newsprint, just a real lot more affordable books. First one they're doing is Sonitus, which is mysterious voices bring this guy back to his childhood town. He kind of gets drawn back, and it turns out there's a supernatural thing calling him because he has something he has to do. And another one called The 12, where it's a family post-apocalyptic world, and they have to make it across a barren wasteland to get the family to where they can survive. Aspen has a couple new ones. They're trying, kind of relaunching the company again. Getting Portal Bound Zero, which is this area has portals to this other world where there's magic and warriors and things. Chera's Magic is their magical action-adventure series. That's getting relaunched, and so is Shrugged, about a kid who has an angel and a demon talking to him and guiding him through his life. Black Mask, who I'm a big fan of, has a new one calling The Wilds, which is kind of a post-apocalyptic zombie type story where about a character who's one that has to keep going out into the wilds to try to get supplies and stuff, and loses a companion and has to adventure out to try to save her. And Come Into Me is a horror story about body image, social media, and self-image. So, fun stuff from Black Mask. Bongo, normally don't talk a lot about Bongo, the Simpsons guys, but they're doing a Krusty the Clown one-shot, so I think this one will be a little popular. Boom Studios has a couple. Lucas Stand has a new miniseries, Inner Demons. And then there's also a Jim Henson Labyrinth, #1. And this is going into the history of the Goblin King. He wasn't always the Goblin King, and it's going to give a little bit of story of what was he before he became the Goblin King. Dynamite has a new Dejah Thoris #1. She's the goddess of Mars, and they kind of go back to this every once in a while, and it's time. They also won Pumpkinhead, about an ancient creature who seeks vengeance. And I'm assuming it was a movie because there's a movie variant cover, but so they're going to be doing a comic of that. They also have a new Xena, a new Kiss versus Army of Darkness, Legendary Red Sonja, which is basically Red Sonja set in kind of steampunky world. And then a new one, new James Bond one-shot M. And it's neat, this is being written by Declan Shalvey, who's been doing a ton of art. He did Moon Knight for a while, and it's just neat. He wrote a graphic novel called Savage Town, and now he's jumping on the James Bond bandwagon, which is good, because James Bond has been doing really good, and I like that it's being written by Brits. So, and, well, he's Irish, but you know what I mean. So that's all the big things that we have coming from the different publishers, all the neat books that we have coming out. Like I said, February just looks to be really fantastic, so keep an eye on, I try to post every week all the neat stuff that's coming. So as always, on the website, pittsburghcomics.com, Facebook under Pittsburgh Comics, Twitter and Instagram under PGH Comics. Again, this month is Comics Pro for me, so I get to go and meet with all the publishers. So if you have any questions you want me to ask, anything you're wondering about, not storyline stuff, but just business-related stuff that I can ask them, please ask me. I'd happily go there with questions. That's why we're meeting, to talk about stuff. So I'm always really happy at the end of February when I get to be gone for a little mini vacation for me. So it's, February is Valiant month for the Valentine's Day promotion. Hopefully I'll get that soon and be able to post that stuff up. So, book club. This month, actually, we're kicking it to the beginning of March, but the February book club book is Shirtless Bear Fighter, which is just a crazy fun book about a shirtless bear fighter. There's really no way to explain what happens in this book, but it's just a lot of fun. There's bear punching, there's magic bacon, and just a lot of fun. So please stay tuned for Comic Previews Theater, and as always, thanks for watching.
God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth." I knew it! I knew it! Everyone is dead but me! The elder of the village! That stuck-up geomancer! All of them! I told them God spoke to me! I told them he told me to build this shelter before the world was destroyed. And they said I was hearing things. You know what I don't hear now? Those idiots babbling at me. 'Cause they're all dead. Ha! Shum Japatham! And Yawaz, whatever your names are, come out. My sons, we did it. We saved all the animals.
Well, except the unicorn.
No one will miss the unicorn. They were untamable and always getting in our crops. There's a reason they were known as hoofed vermin. Now, who's ready to repopulate the earth, huh? Now that we are the only humans left alive on the...
Sup? I was wondering if I was the only one left. I don't know about you, but I could use a freaking drink. Buddies, pals, teammates, minor acquaintances. I'll let you sort out amongst yourselves which is which. Step right in, you guys, for history's most exclusive wine tasting.
Well, I do live here, Mr. Armstrong.
I've got the most exclusive wine collection in the world. One bottle for every year of my immortal life.
Do not let the ridiculous appearance of tonight's targets lull you into a false sense of superiority, my friends. They are formidable foes. So, after summoning you here, I took the liberty of assembling extensive dossiers on all of them, though you shouldn't need any introduction to Archer and Armstrong, the immortal strongman and cloistered assassin who are the arch nemeses of secret societies such as ours.
I moved my wine collection around a bunch before a couple centuries ago I realized I needed a more permanent storage place. That's why I had it built here, on Manhattan Island, which is mostly just schist.
Sir!
Schist, kid. I said schist. It's my favorite metamorphic rock.
It was my mother's favorite excuse to give me a paddling. And then an exorcism.
The two men in the complimentary blue and white outfits are not, as I originally surmised, an unemployed Cirque du Soleil act, but are in fact the world's worst superhero team, going by the names Quantum and Woody.
I wondered why you and Archer spent all your time hanging out in a dump like this, Armstrong.
Dump, you got no taste, Eric. All quality drinkers smell vaguely of urine and mop water.
Those two have actual supranormal superpowers, so be careful with them. That goes double for the floating cosplayer Faith Herbert. She seems to divide her time between anti-Harbinger Foundation activities and LARPing as a vigilante.
It's the reason I bought this patch of land for $24 worth of wampum and various household goods from the local Lenape and built a tavern on it.
Oh, you bought the whole island for that little? You'd make a killing in the back issue booths at cons.
Whatevs.
The woman with the pink mohawk goes by the name Punk Mambo. She claims to be an actual voodoo priestess of some kind.
No. Just wanted this block. But Black Peter Studevant claimed that gave the Dutch right to the whole damn island. There's a reason that peg-leg wanker is roasting in one of the less pleasant pits of the dead side.
As soon as they open the vault, it will be our signal to attack. Remember, we must coordinate our assault, for if we do not succeed together, none of us can achieve our individual aims.